Hey, warriors. So, a lot of people are saying right now that that we are in or just went through whatever the biggest shift since Atlantis. Okay, and whether you take Atlantis as literal history or symbolic mythology, um, something has changed. We all feel it. Um, the tension, it's different. Awareness is different. Exposure to corruption is different. It feels like a tipping point, you know? Um, in Atlantis, that's not just a story of a lost city, you know? It represents a civilization that reached a technological and energetic peak and collapsed because consciousness didn't evolve with power, you know? So when people say this is the biggest shift since Atlantis, what they're really pointing to is that we're at another inflection point. Um, Power is expanding, information is decentralizing. Old systems are destabilizing. We have seen all of this. The question being really is, does consciousness mature this time? Right? Um, People saying the scales have tipped. What they are actually meaning when they say that, when people say higher frequency beings are tipping the scales. What they are describing, obviously, is that more people are questioning narratives. More people are developing, their intuition, um, and prioritizing, their sovereignty, uh, choosing awareness over that blind, compliance where we were once. Um, and obviously that this I know there's all types of stories out there and you can go with whatever one you want to. This does to me doesn't mean that angels have landed. Not saying they're not coming, but I sure haven't seen any at my front door. I mean, yeah, I see them in other ways, but you know what I mean. Um, what it means is that perception is evolving, you know, and perception determines civilization, period. It just does. And if we are in a collective shift, here's what it, as far as I'm concerned, and as far as I can see, what it really realistically looks like, there's going to be a shit ton of instability before that stabilization. That's that's number one. Old systems are not going to dissolve quietly. We are seeing this already. There's going to be a ton of people with information overload, and that's going to cause all types of issues. You know, truth and deception, like it's happening right now. Truth and deception are rising simultaneously. People's identity are fragmenting more than we already are fragmented, um people who have built themselves on old structural, structures, they feel disoriented right now. We know this, okay? And as a collective, it's going to be the same, you know, type of thing. Everything is accelerated right now. Change is happening faster than our nervous systems prefer. you know? Um, these shifts, any little ones that I've been through myself, they don't feel peaceful at first, you know? They feel quite chaotic, really, you know? And I think that's what we're experiencing as a collective right now as well. Um, when our coherence is reorganizing, that is, what it feels like, plain and simple. What I believe we should expect moving forward, if consciousness genuinely is rising collectively, and I believe that it is. I know that it is. Um, we can expect, more transparency. Honestly, I think that it's going to be so much transparency that it might be too much for some people, um more polarization before integration, faster exposure to manipulation, you know um there is a greater emphasis on self-regulation right now, and I love that. um but and there is a ton of, you know there's a ton of less tolerance for, unconscious authority. But, also at that same time, you know people, and I believe this is going to accelerate too, are clinging harder to old paradigms, especially people that don't realize what is going on. There's going to be a ton of, and there already is a ton of psychological resistance there, you know, emotional vitality. Um, Evolution, it's not smooth, and I don't think that's going to be our experience for a while. I don't think that it's going to be smooth. The higher frequency beings, I don't know. Are they going to be, like an external entities, or maybe it's all it is people who have stabilized their nervous systems, healed their trauma, stopped reacting, unconsciously. Maybe it's both. I'm not going to sit here and pretend to know exactly what is going to happen. Um, but I do know that, higher frequency is not a glow in the dark, spirituality kind of thing. Um, I do know that it is embodied regulation, you know, at least for who's here right now, um, clarity, discernment, being able to be in coherence under pressure, you know, that's what's going to shift civilization, is that right there. Um, so if this is the largest shift since Atlantis, then I don't believe that the collapse is going to come from technology. Okay? I mean, this scale, I don't know. I believe it will come or be prevented, by consciousness. That's my belief. The scale doesn't tip because something descends from the sky. So, it tips because enough humans stop operating from fear. And I mean, it's that simple. And, once we start operating from our awareness, you know, the future isn't descending. I believe that it is emerging, and it's emerging through us. So that's how I feel about that. I love you.